Hello, I am Aviva reporting for Jerusalem News Live. Today is Wednesday, the 7th of January 2009. Last night, in military action against the Arab terrorist organization Hamas, the Israeli military returned fire at an incoming source in Jabalya. The UNWRA school was hit, and it has been determined that the loss of human life included Arab civilian women and children. Following is the brief statement issued last night by the Israel Defense Force spokesperson, and I quote, "After an investigation that took place over the past hour, it has been found that amongst the dead at the Jabalya school were Hamas terror operatives and a mortar battery cell who were firing on IDF forces in the area. Hamas operatives Imad Abu Ashkar and Hassan Abu Ashkar were amongst terrorists that were identified to be killed. We face a very delicate situation where the Hamas is using the citizens of Gaza as a protective vest," IDF spokesperson Brigadier General Aviva said following the incident. End quote. Of course, this is not the first time Hamas has used children as human shields. The use of innocent civilians as human shields is strictly forbidden according to international law. But really, are we surprised that Hamas still violates international law, even though it was duly elected to govern Arab Gaza by the people it now holds hostage? And should we also be asking exactly how many civilians this Arab terror organization are actually coercing into serving their end goal, which is clearly stated, and that end goal is the destruction of the sovereign state of Israel? Clearly, there was a loss of civilian life last night, a heart-rending loss of life. Nonetheless, if the so-called moderate Muslims are too few in number in Gaza to rise up and stop Hamas from within, then surely those governing Israel today have a moral, ethical, and legal obligation to protect the sovereign state of Israel, her citizens, and her borders. The one critical remark I can make about the loss of life in Gaza last evening is that the Israeli government here waited entirely too long to put a stop to the terror and acts of war emanating from the Gaza Strip. I am on record as having said prior to Israel going to war in Gaza that if Mr. Olmert, Ms. Livni, Mr. Barak, and every member of the Israeli Knesset lived in Sderot without their entourage of reinforced armored vehicles and their personal bodyguards, that they would soon learn how to stop Hamas. The motivating factor, of course, would be their own personal experience of having merely 15 seconds to run for their lives. I said this before the war on Hamas began, and I reiterate that today. Mr. Olmert, finish Hamas. You waited, and you waited entirely too long. Do not leave Gaza until Hamas is rooted out of every bunker and is entirely disabled militarily. And that concludes this segment. I'm Aviva reporting for Jerusalem News Live. Thank you, and shalom. May the Almighty help this present inhabited world.